Hi everyone, welcome to this free PTE academic training session. I'm super excited to be here today and would like to welcome everyone personally. I can see people joining in from Australia and New Zealand. So that's actually really great, guys. And before moving further, let me give you a quick introduction about myself. So my name is Mervyn Dias and I am one of the PTE trainers here at Swift Education based in Auckland, New Zealand. I've been teaching PT for almost 2 years now, and we have helped over hundreds of students to get their desired score in PT. So, this was my quick introduction. We have more than 100 people on this free training here, so I think it's a good time. Let's get started, guys, on how you can score 65 plus in PT. Okay, I assume everyone knows what PT as a test is, but I think I'll give a quick 30-second introduction of PT test for people who do not know. So PT stands for Pearson Test of English, which is definitely by Pearson. It's a 3-hour long test which assesses your English proficiency. It has 4 modules: speaking, writing, reading and listening. It's completely 100% computer based, and that actually means that there is no human interference, which is the best part of this test. And that's what makes PT very impartial and unbiased. Another most frequently asked question that comes along our way is, which test is better? I mean, is it PT or IELTS? Which one is easier to score? So in my personal experience, I've actually seen people appear for both these tests, IELTS and PT, multiple times, and still they are confused which one is better and which exam they have a better chance to get the desired score. If you ask me personally, I believe PT is easier than IELTS. So how? Let's have a quick comparison. So if you look at the comparison between the two, I'm, to be very frank, very comfortable with computers as compared to a human. So a human judging my English or any skills may actually make me slightly uncomfortable, even conscious to a certain extent. Also, the examiner, you never know, could have preconceived notions based on the candidate's attire, body language, probably even facial expressions. Also, I believe that PT is fairer and a more genuine, real test of English. Most importantly, it's comparatively actually easier to score in PT. How? So, if you see, there are actually 71 questions asked in PT in 20 formats divided into 4 sections. Now what happens is, if you look at the comparison between both these tests of English, many questions in PT have options of partial credits, which you do not have in IELTS. As an example, say the speaking section and the repeat sentence question type. So if you speak right, completely right, you get 3 points. But if you're still able to not get it completely right, but speak close to 50% of the words right, you still get scored 2 points. And even if less than 50, you still get scored 1 point. And the same kind of a partial credit approach goes for other questions like write from dictation, fill in the blanks and more. This you do not have in IELTS. Also, if you observe very closely, if you look at the comparison between the tests, the PT score to IELTS conversion gives a range of total 7 points each band. I'm sure that's really good. Isn't that really good? And I'm sure none of you might have thought it actually that way. So with the partial credits and the credit range, you actually have a very high chance now to score 65 plus. Where if you just look at getting 7 bands in IELTS, it might get tough. But getting a 65 plus points score in PT, which is 7 bands, becomes very, very easy. So I hope now you guys have a clear understanding about PT as a test, which is better, which is easier. Yeah, so let's move on. And yeah, one more thing. In between the session, if any of you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box. So I have the chat box open on my screen here, and I'll definitely try and answer the questions maybe in the middle of the training or definitely by the end of this training. Okay, so now let's move further and now jump straight into the tips of getting a 65 plus score. So I know most of you have already appeared in PT before, and in your preparation you've gathered mixed and incomplete information from various different sources, and you feel actually overwhelmed and confused as well. I want to keep this entire session very simple. I'm going to cover some very basic stuff which definitely you might have heard of, but it's actually very important as it's the foundation. So the first point is knowing the scoring guide properly. First and most important thing is to know how you actually get scored. As in PTE, for each question, you get scored for various parameters, which are mainly comprised of grammar, oral fluency, content, vocab, and pronunciation. So as to say, even if your answer probably it's not completely right, it's not correct, you still might get scored if you cover these parts. Let's look at all of these a little more closely now. So when you look at grammar, make sure you use the right verb with the right tense. A sentence definitely has a verb and it's in a proper tense, which is in present, past, or future, which is keeping it very simple. And by changing the tense, the entire sentence might change. Also focus on the singular and plural words of the verbs in context to the sentence. It gets very important, guys. When you look at oral fluency, ensure you don't speak too fast or too slow. Don't take very long pauses. You can take pauses when needed, like for example, a comma or a full stop. Stress on words of importance, which actually means intonation. If you look at the next part, that is the content, the written content. Your written content needs to have a proper grammar structure. Don't make very complex sentences. Trust me, guys, keep it simple. Focus on how the discourse or the flow of language is and how you build up on the ideas that you're describing. Moving on to vocab, many people actually think vocab is using very big words, very large words. Actually not. Just focus on simple words. Try and check your knowledge on synonyms and antonyms. Synonyms, similar words, antonyms, opposite words. Okay, so take for example, we all know what not visible means. But instead of saying not visible, use the word invisible. So this is the use of right vocab. Also focus on diction, that is how the words sound. So when you're speaking in the speaking part, make sure that the sound of the word comes out right. Lastly, pronunciation. Do not use accents. Please guys, it's a big no-no. Do not even copy the accent of the speaker again. A big no-no again. Speak the way you're comfortable. You can score 90 of 90 with your original accent. Could be Indian, Chinese, or any non-native speaker, as far as your elocution. Elocution as in the words that you speak are clear, with proper pronunciation and oral fluency. Use voice modulation so that you sound more natural. I mean, it's something like just talking to a friend of yours. Okay, so this was just an understanding of how this entire structure and the scoring is. And if you look at all of these points, let's take an example of probably retail lecture. So if you actually fail to understand what the speaker is saying, what would you do? Would you exactly, would you just skip the entire question, jump on to the next one? I think you should not. I wouldn't advise you to either. Even if you do not understand anything or have captured very little information about the topic or what the speaker was saying, make up your own story and speak smoothly on it for 35 to 40 seconds. This way you'll at least get points, the partial points for vocab, pronunciation, form, and oral fluency. Yeah, right, you may not get a very high score on the content part, but at least, you scored on the 4 parameters, which gives you a better chance of getting to your score. But please make sure that whatever you speak, the story that you make up, is in context. So if the speaker is actually talking about homework, please talk about homework. Do not make a story based on totally something else. Use your general knowledge. Do not hesitate. Don't take long pauses. Speak as fluently as possible. So I hope you understand, this is the main reason why understanding how the scoring guide is very important and crucial. Anyway, so since that's out of the way, how the scoring guide is, a few more general things that we need to know is getting familiar with the PTE test environment. Now, the PTE test environment could actually be very tricky and challenging at the same time. I'm not saying it's very difficult, but the way PTE is conducted, it could be frustrating and challenging for some. It could be very noisy because at least 10 to 20 people probably are taking the exam at the same time. And what happens in this case is, as a possibility, the student next to you is on the speaking section while you are attempting the reading section. The voice of the surrounding, it could affect your concentration level, your focus, and this could drop your score significantly. So what is the solution? What do you do? Would you let someone just ruin the important exam of your life? I'm sure not. So what you could actually do is, there's a very simple solution. That is to prepare at least 1 hour a day in a noisy environment. So go to your local Starbucks, McDonald's, cafe, wherever, buy your coffee, take advantage of the free Wi-Fi and try to focus and do at least 1 hour of preparation. So what happens is, this way you will at least get used to the real PT exam environment. I mean, to perform and to work around a noisy environment, and you'll just do pretty well in the actual exam. I know some of you might kind of feel shy to prepare that way, but trust me guys, do it just once and it will boost your confidence. Do not think about anyone around you. Just be focused on the end goal and the end result. Okay, few other general tips might sound funny to some, but yes, these are very important. Eating right. Now, the last thing you want is a bad stomach before your exam. Hydrate yourself well with water, but please do not overdo. So you don't want to take frequent trips to the restroom. Why am I saying this? Your score also depends on what you eat. It may sound funny, but yes, this is true. You need to have laser focused concentration for your exam. For that, you absolutely need to eat right before your exam. And what could be the right food? I would say try avoiding or do not eat high carbs or sugars before your test. So what happens is, high carbs and sugar actually make you feel more lazy and you may not have the optimum concentration. Have a light meal, probably a small snack before your exam. In this way you won't feel hungry and won't even compromise on your focus and concentration. My best bet, as per me, take a strong black coffee. This is the right thing, and it will actually make you more focused and energetic. And yes, needless to say, but make sure you sleep well a night before. Please do not take any stress. Stress and anxiety in the PT exam is actually the biggest reason why people are not able to perform. I have actually seen this as an experience with many of my students who get stressed and nervous. So Mervyn, I was not able to answer this question right. I was so nervous, I don't know what to do. So please don't take stress. If you're actually a person, a type of person who gets stressed very easily, probably go for a walk the night before, listen to some light music. Do not overthink about your tests. Do not overthink about your results as well. So keep it easy, guys. Don't take too much of stress. So those were some of the simple yet effective tips which can actually drastically improve your score. Try this and it'll definitely help you. So, all right. So these were the general tips, the test environment, the scoring guide. Now let's look at each of the modules and how you can actually get a score of 65 plus. Let's explore more on this. Let's start with reading. Okay, reading section is one where most people struggle. It's not basically because it's difficult, but it actually becomes challenging because there is a very limited time that you have and you need to read through long texts, understand them and even answer them in that time frame. Many of our brightest students have lost their 65 plus score mainly because they spend a lot of time in the reading section and most of them were not even able to attempt all the questions in this section. But how could you prepare in an efficient way that can help you score 65 plus in reading? What are the kind of question types that are more important where you need to pay more attention? So let's have a look at that. So one most known question type that we have is multiple choice questions, which has got two types. That is MCQ single answer and MCQ multiple answer. And on the other hand, we have fill in the blanks, which we have drag and drop and drop down options. My suggestion is please do not waste more time on multiple choice questions as compared to blanks. If you look at multiple choice questions, single answers, try using this tip. Try and eliminate the odd ones. And there you go, you definitely will get the right answer. For multiple choice, multiple answers, do not waste a lot of time. Try and give it your best shot. Trust me guys, you may be surprised that you have got them all right. But don't waste too much of time on MCQ. Instead, move on and please focus on fill in the blanks. Now what happens is, fill in the blanks are more important and very scoring as well. Reason, you get 10 to 11 fill in the blanks, you have partial marks and which are based on grammar. Pay attention to collocations and basic English grammar and you will definitely be able to get all of them right. Work on your basic grammar skills like sentence structure, tenses, verbs. So fill in the blanks actually rotate around these points. So by doing this, trust me, 65 plus is not far away. So these were a few tips about reading. Moving on, let's talk about writing. So PT writing definitely is a very scoring part. Most of the students actually find it really easy. The key to scoring 65 plus in writing is to use predefined templates. So yes, we have a lot of templates. You can use these templates so you don't waste a lot of time on like, how do I start the essay? How do I start the sentence? You have a template in place. All you have to do is focus on thought process or on idea generation during the exam. You also need to consider like the sentence structure, format and form. So if you have a template, that doesn't mean you just like stick it in with your thoughts and ideas. Make sure that your thoughts and ideas that you have for the essay coincide or come in terms or are together with the template that you have. Few other tips. Yes, capitals, punctuations, and do not overdo. Now, using capitals in wrong places. A capital letter is used only and only after a full stop or used for proper nouns such as names of countries, cities, people, etc. And for I. Do not use capital letters in other places, please. Or probably write a whole sentence in capitals. That would be completely wrong grammatically. Okay? When you finish a sentence with a full stop, make sure that at the end of the sentence there is a space only after the full stop, not before. Begin a new line with capital letters after the full stop. There is no autocorrect and the system will note these as grammar mistakes. So please be careful, guys. You will lose points. As a tip, what we tell students is when you practice a writing task, try and practicing it on WordPad or Notepad or turn off the MS Word autocorrect features. Just train yourself against these common and silly grammar mistakes. And yes, most importantly, I sometimes tend to forget, please do not make spelling mistakes. Focus on spellings as well. What happens is, if you make more than 2 spelling mistakes, you actually get scored 0 for the spelling section for that part. Do not over-deliver. This is again a big no-no. Most of the students try and over-deliver, make complex sentences and they get it all wrong. Never go beyond 260 words in any circumstance. My catch is to go up to 75% of what is expected. So if you have 300 words cap to write the essay, be somewhere between 220 to 250. Now this is still good. Make sure that you make simple sentences. This will help you avoid grammar mistakes. Keeping your essays between this range of 220 to 260 to 250 will actually get you 65 plus. Trust me, definitely. You do not have to overdo, you do not have to write completely up to 300 words. So please be careful of this, okay? And yes, before I forget, another place where people actually lose marks is, in stress, students actually leave the caps key on. Now, not all keyboards will have the caps key with the green light on. So you may or you may not know if the caps key is on unless and until you type, and then you see there's a mistake, then again you correct yourself, you press the backspace. You lose a lot of time on this, and by the time you realize it, it's actually too late. Avoid using the caps key. Trust me, avoid using the caps key. Use the shift key instead. Okay? Use the shift key, and with the shift key you can make the letter capitals. Don't use the caps key. Be wary of that. Now, the most dreaded section, the speaking section. Trust me, guys, some people actually find speaking really tough. They are not able, you're not able to score well. But if you follow these basic tips that I'm going to share with you, trust me, it will be very easy for you as well. Speaking is definitely one of the most scoring module in PT, but if you do it the right way. How do you go about it? Give the computer what the computer is expecting, and you will score well. This is maintaining good oral fluency, pronunciation, and your grammar. This actually can be a game changer. Speaking is all about maintaining good communication on your oral fluency, vocab, and pronunciation. And these 3 aspects definitely have a higher weightage than content. Even if you lack in content, you can still score a very good point in speaking. Just to show you quick of how it is. So when you look at content, probably you have not captured the entire content of what the speaker has said. But as far as you speak properly and continuously with proper oral fluency, pronunciation, and grammar, you definitely will get that score that you are looking at. Let me just quickly show you a quick comparison of how these three can be very important to you. So this is actually the score report of one of our students who gave 3 attempts back to back in consecutive weeks. And okay, so sorry about that. So a quick comparison. So when you look at this, the first score that he got was 38, and if you look at the grammar and oral fluency, it's completely like it's 0. Okay, so definitely you can't expect more than 38 on this. If you look at his next attempt, which he made just the following week, he straight away jumped 10 points. Okay, have a look. Here his written discourse is still 0, but just because his grammar, oral fluency, and pronunciation came high, so his whole score went up. His last attempt, he still didn't let his grammar, oral fluency, and pronunciation drop, even when his spelling was low, and he was still close to 50 points. So I hope now you can understand exactly how to go about it. Okay, so speech over content. Make up your own story. Try and be close to the content. Be close to the context of what the lecture was about. Speak fluently for close to 35 to 40 seconds. This way you'll at least get points for vocab, pronunciation, form, and oral fluency. You may not get to high on content like we discussed earlier, but at least for the other points, parameters, you'll get points. If the lecture was somewhere about homework, talk about homework. Do not hesitate. Don't take long pauses. Say as much as you can. Speak on related ideas. Okay. Now, recently we've been hearing a lot of rumors of if you do not know an answer, you can give a reply, I do not know. This is really funny. You do not get scored if you say I do not know. Okay. So try and speak as much as you can, but do not give a reply, I do not know. You don't get scored for that. So that's a big no-no. It's a myth. It's a rumor that's being spreading around. So try and keep that aside. Well, moving on, we've covered the speaking part, and let's look at a few questions that can actually break your score or make your score in speaking. So if you look at it, most people think that describe image is the most scoring part. Okay, yes, it is scoring because you get more than 5 questions, you get 25 seconds to speak on it, but please do not overlook on repeat sentence. Repeat sentence is relatively easy. Okay, you get more questions on repeat sentence. All you have to do is just hear the sentence and speak it out immediately. Okay, it becomes very easy. It's testing your speaking, listening, and even your short-term memory. Okay, pay close attention to repeat sentence and spend good time preparing for repeat sentence. Although other speaking question types are easy and definitely you can score well, but repeat sentence in my bet is more scoring, and definitely you can do much better, get a higher score in the speaking part. All right. Last but not the least, the listening part. Now, listening is actually one of the most easiest modules and very easy to score. So you do not need to be very need to focus more on trying to do a lot of practice on listening, because most of our students actually find it relatively easy. But whenever you practice, make sure you follow these steps. You need to be very alert to not miss out any spoken words in the audio. While capturing the audio, please make sure you focus on the grammar, the singular and plural words. Sometimes students tend to miss out on all of these small points. And yes, you actually have to be quick to answer. Listening as a section is very easy compared to all the other parts. But what happens is, since the entire section goes so fast, the audios are fast, some of our students actually miss out on questions. They're not able to answer questions. They're like, Mervin, the question came so fast, I was not able to answer the questions right, and people do lose out marks on this. We actually do not want to go deep into this, as majority of our students, like I discussed, do not struggle in listening module of PT. It is all about focus, guys, and understanding what the speaker is saying. One can score even 90 or 90, trust me, with little preparation and listening module. The most important and the question type that has the highest weightage in listening is actually write from dictation. If you actually have a look at it, write from dictation is something very similar to repeat sentence. So can you see the analogy? You have to focus more on repeat sentence because you get more questions in the speaking part to get a good score. Similarly, for listening, you have to focus more on write from dictation. You just have to listen to the audio, put down the words. Yes, be careful that you do not make spelling mistakes, right? Do practice on write from dictation, do it relatively more, and definitely you can achieve 65 plus in listening without too many issues. You know, guys, there are actually so many other strategies for each and every question type which can actually help you score get you a score of 65 plus. But unfortunately, it's very, very difficult for me to cover all of these points, each and every tip here, as time is a major constraint. So as you know, as you now know that PT is actually about strategies, tips and tricks. So I would even say, like, even if you're a native speaker and you do not know the strategies for each question type, you probably will struggle to score even 58. So yeah, that's that. This actually brings us to the end of the training session, and yes, now I hope you definitely feel the difference. Even you can score 65 plus in PT. This was all about the training, and it's bye-bye from me. Hope to see you, hope to interact with you guys again sometime soon. All the best for your exam, guys. Take care.